But it's, again, it just tells the story of it's the evil and the ugliness of people's hearts these days is everywhere.
This is Frankie Rose's Think Tank. Here's your host, Frankie Rose.
Hey guys, how you doing? It's Frankie. We're back. So I'm going to put this up right away. There's been shots fired all over the place. This is Midtown. I haven't quite figured out which.
Stand by. Anthony, you just do you.
Dandy.
Okay.
Alrighty. A little bit out of practice. Probably. I don't know what the hell's going on here. I really don't. Like, listen. Hey, Ruthie. It's good to see you guys. Oh my God. Oh my God. I just noticed this and it's like, what the hell is going on?
Okay. The snipers are going in there. They're going to start shooting. That's what we're hearing.
Now they're saying that this guy, let me see what else I can find while I'm doing that.
That's the sniper. Yeah. Even as a Midtown alert, so my partner sells in this building, like Charles Barkley lived in. Yeah.
They were telling the reporters to hide. Hey, Maxie.
Nothing was said to us. Just go down there and check.
Reports of armed person in Midtown.
We are coming on air right now with breaking news at this hour. The Four Seasons Hotel in Midtown Atlanta locked down. The area around it locked down because of a suspected gunman in that area. We do know that multiple shots have been fired in that property, around that property. We do know that 14th Street, Crescent Street, Peachtree, whole area locked down right now. Police trying to assess what is going on. Once again, the Four Seasons Midtown Atlanta is locked down because of multiple shots in the area. Right now, we want to get out to 11 Alive's Cody Alcorn, who is live for us on the ground. Cody, we know that you got out there just after 3 o'clock. What are you seeing right now?
Well, Faith, I can tell you I'm hunkered down right now behind a concrete column as shots are being fired. I've heard more than 30 shots since I've been on the scene. I just saw a sniper walk across the street. Snipers are setting up encounter. Bill, you hear that? Those are shots being actively fired right now. So what I was saying is snipers are entering buildings near us, trying to, what you call is take down this shooter, eliminate this threat. I can tell you, as sources are telling me, this started as a barricaded individual, possibly having some type of mental health crisis earlier this afternoon. Not sure the exact time this started unfolding. APD responded here. What I'm being told was this on the residence side of the Four Seasons Hotel. If you're not familiar with the Four Seasons Hotel here on 14th near Crescent Avenue, there is a residential side and there is a hotel side. There's also a couple bars inside and restaurants. And what we know at this point, it appears this started on the residence side, possibly on the 32nd, 33rd floor of the Four Seasons Hotel. Now, Faith, I'll tell you, as I was coming down here, we believe this was just not a typical call, and nothing is ever typical as we're seeing unfold right now. But with these, they bring in a SWAT team. They try to walk these individuals out safely and get them the help they need. I do not know what happened, though, in the last half hour, because this thing has escalated again. Shots are actively being fired. You heard one right there. 13th Street, 14th Street, APD asking people to stay away. APD has all these areas blocked off, which you're seeing some of these cars possibly leaving garages here, but we don't have any more information on exactly who this person is. But I can tell you, I see a SWAT team member going up on a 3rd to 4th level right now, making their way up on a building next to us, trying to get eyes on this floor where this shooter is at. We believe 13th Street is where a lot of the action is happening, where they're setting up, because they've asked us all to stay away from 13th Street. That seems to be a very serious situation over there. And again, 14th Street, we see the SWAT team. That's what you're looking at now. And again, that's where we are at this point. They're asking folks to stay away. And I can tell you, the car you saw come through here, you might be asking who that was. That was an unmarked APD unit. So that's why that vehicle was coming through here. But it does appear now that this area is on lockdown. If you see any other vehicles coming through here, it's likely those are undercover APD officers or other jurisdictions.
Shots,
but
crazy.
Where we are, again, Midtown, 14th Street at Peachtree is closed. 13th is closed as well. The gunshots have kind of stopped for the moment, but this is kind of how it's been going. It'll be a lull for a minute, and then you'll hear rapid gunfire. So that's either the SWAT teams shooting at the suspect or the suspect shooting at them, and then that return fire. But again, this is a very active situation that has happened. And again, this is almost 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We're at a 3:45 crash. As you know more than anybody, this is a very busy time for this area, especially around Midtown.
We can hear those shots too. We can hear those shots as they ricochet around that Midtown area there, just that echo right here. Let me step out of the way because this camera that I have set up is along West Peachtree and 14th Street. Obviously, APD units blocking off all this traffic. Now, again, as Cody was saying, if you're not too familiar with the area, just kind of think of this as a big square right around here. I'm going to step back in the picture. This is where the Four Seasons is. 14th Street right here. This is West Peachtree. This is Spring Street. Remember that because I'm going to use that as an alternate. And then 12th Street. But we are seeing all these roads being completely blocked off. I'm going to step out of the way again. And we are seeing delays, not just on 14th Street and on 12th and 13th as this activity unfolds, but now we're seeing traffic back up along Peachtree, even along 15th Street. So all these roads are impacted at 3:45 in the afternoon. As Cody was mentioning, this is a very, very busy area. So here's what we're going to do as far as alternates. Stay away from that scene. Spring Street's going to be one of your best bets to head south. I wouldn't even do Peachtree right now. I would just stay completely away from that particular part of Midtown and use Piedmont, both directions, north and south. It is clear as we see once again. Cody, I'm going to go ahead and throw it back to you in Midtown. And I know you've been hearing those shots ring out. What else are you hearing here?
Yeah, Crash, we just heard a couple now. We're getting people on X sending me video as I've been posting. They are in their high rises around this area. These gunshots ricocheting off of these high rises. So a lot of people now paying attention because, again, they send out a Midtown alert. If you're on social media, you get those from time to time warning folks to stay away. But again, things have escalated to where now we have an active shooter situation. I can tell you APD has some of the best SWAT team members here around North Georgia. They are still getting on scene. It's likely they're going to be assisted by other SWAT team members. If you're familiar, if you've been here over the years, kind of reminds you of that situation. We had the Midtown shooter, how they are locking down this area. The good thing with this, if there's any good situation right now, we don't believe anybody as far as innocent civilians are in that room. We haven't been told this is any type of hostage situation. It seems they have this situation controlled to maybe a building here. But again, they are clearing out. You can see that unit just pulled in. They are putting on vests. That's actually what we call the Public Information Department for the City of Atlanta Police. So that's the team who will be updating us. You see, she is actually putting on a bulletproof vest. You don't often see that from the PIOs here. That's what we call them when they get on scenes. She is the director here. She is the one you see a lot with the chief, with the mayor when they hold news conferences. So we're going to have a news conference here at some point, but it will be sometime.
So is this not... They're saying Seasons Hotel, but it sounded like they were saying that some of these were, do they have apartments there as well in Four Seasons?
Man or woman, we believe it's a man, out of this building safely and get them the help they need to, that led to this. But again, you can see the seriousness of this. I'm sure at this point the mayor is being kept up to date on what's happening here. You probably will see the mayor down here at some point if he is in town. He will be at this news conference as well. This doesn't only just affect people living here, but there's a lot of business people here. They stay at the Four Seasons Hotel. I saw an Uber park next to us. The family was trying to get back there. They didn't know what was going on.
Scary.
So there is a lot of people just maybe returning to their hotel, trying to get back down to this area, really not knowing what's happening. But again, if you know anybody in Midtown, if you know anybody that lives around 13th, 14th Street or surrounding areas, right now they need to stay where they're at because they're not going to be getting anywhere. And I can tell you some of these gunshots seem like they're very close to us here at the 1180 Peachtree Street building. That's because we have a feeling that the sniper is in our building or the one next to us. Again, they're trying to take down this gunman at this point. They want to do it safely, but this thing has escalated. I know Ron's familiar with this as well. He's in the newsroom.
So, you know what I'm finding surprising is with all of those shots, it didn't sound like just one. I mean, what do I know? I don't have a permit, but yet. But multiple weapons, maybe? Holy crap.
Protection. Give me just 1 second here. I'm going to see what I can find out, but we're going to still be here. So we're not going anywhere. I'm just going to find out what's happening here, if they're going to be moving us back a little ways for safety, but it appears that's what they are doing right now.
Cody, we want to make sure that you all are being safe, so please make sure that you are getting to a safe space there. As you have reported, still an active shooter situation here. Atlanta police actually putting out a notice saying that road closures include 14th Street Northeast, West Peachtree Street, Crescent Ave, and 13th Street at West Peachtree Street Northeast. As Crash was showing us a square there. If you're familiar with this area in Midtown, a lot of businesses, but also some residential areas. The Four Seasons Hotel itself, part of that hotel is a hotel. And at the top of that building there, those are residences, a separate residential entrance on 13th Street, which Cody was talking about earlier. And as you can see, so many police officers still there as we see our camera here on the ground in Midtown, zooming in here to multiple Atlanta police cruisers, as well as staff and personnel there. We want to bring in Ron Jones at this time to give us a better picture from your experience in law enforcement, Ron. And we're also hearing another gunshot there.
Yeah. You know, and you're going to continue to hear these gunshots. Listen to that. I mean, that's more than a dozen gunshots within seconds, right? So they're still looking for the shooter. Now, on the street, it looks particularly calm, right? You see the officers there standing by, making sure that there's no residents walking into the crime scene, making sure there's no vehicles going in there. But this is what we don't see. This is a 50-story tall building. So those SWAT team members have to go in each floor, trying to negotiate their way through, trying to navigate their way through to actually get to where the shooter is. We don't know if that person's on the 30th floor. We don't know if they're on the 20th floor, but they have to go by room by room. They have to also not just look for the suspect here, Faith. They have to see if there's any victims there, that they can actually get those victims to triage, maybe get them to the hospital to make sure that they are okay.
And we are still working to understand what exactly is happening in that hotel. We are getting minute by the minute information from our very own Cody Alcorn, who is live at the scene right now. Cody, within the last couple of minutes, we just heard several more rounds of gunfire. Hopefully you're in a safe place right now. What can you tell us?
Mel.
Yes, I'm actually behind a concrete pillar here with some other folks who are taking cover. And as Ron mentioned, this is a very tall building. As I'm looking up right now towards the 32nd, 33rd floor, you can actually see some movement up there. But again, just listening to some witnesses here telling me they saw someone kind of peek out, but we don't exactly know which floor will be the 33rd, 32nd looking from the ground up. This is a huge building, but I can tell you snipers are in the surrounding buildings right now. A lot of movement out here. But as Ron mentioned, this rapid gunfire has been going on since I got on scene about 3:30, and there are more gunshots happening right now. And just so you know, as we are telling people to stay off the street, stay away, a lot of people question, well, why are you there? I can tell you're behind huge concrete pillars here at the 1180 Peachtree Street building. These are protecting us. So we are in a safe spot between us and any of these wild bullets that are flying around. And again, these shots, what I was originally told from sources, is this was ongoing in the 32nd to 33rd floor on the residence side of the Four Seasons Hotel here on 14th Street. So maybe he moved at this point, but it's likely that once SWAT got here, they do have him pinned in an area there, but there are a lot of windows on this side. So it is likely that he is on the side facing Peachtree Street, because that is where the snipers are going in across from. And again, we're not giving any counterintelligence here, because obviously you've heard those shots. Those are not just from the suspect. the SWAT team has to be close enough that they are in range to shoot at this suspect as they try to eliminate the threat. And this is not what APD wants. This is not what negotiators show up to do. They come to these calls. Obviously, again, we can't confirm this, but originally we were told this might have been a mental health type situation with an armed situation. What they try to do is they come out here, they try to talk this person down, get them out safely, disarm them, and get them to the hospital and get them the help they need and call it a day. Everybody goes home. But once those...
So this is in Atlanta at the Four Seasons Hotel. And this has been going on for a little while. The amount of shots that have been fired has blown me away. I don't know if there's more than one shooter or not. They're saying just one, but oh my God, the gunfire is just immense.
There, they are walking up under the crime scene tape, and they are actively getting updates from the command staff. Now, I just waved at her, so we're going to hope she walks over to us and gives us an update here. So I'm going to, again, stay right where I'm at. Hopefully we'll get an update in a few seconds. Likely going to give us tell us what's going on inside this building and any updates for the community as we are heading, of course, into afternoon traffic.
Absolutely.
And people are going to start coming home because, again, what people, if you don't live in the Midtown area, there are a lot of residents around this area. So a lot of people probably on edge. Should I come home, again, with active shots being fired?
And on a day where there's not breaking news, Cody, I frequent this area a lot, and I can tell you that traffic bumper to bumper without this is definitely going to put a lot of people in a pretty bad situation when it comes to traffic. But more importantly, they want to make sure that people are safe. We've heard multiple rounds of gunfire during your report. We just saw a tweet from Atlanta Police Department saying shelter in place. Officers are investigating a person armed at 75 14th Street Northeast. Please shelter in place or stay out of the area. Citizens within the site of the Four Seasons Hotel are advised to avoid any windows and rooms facing that area. Cody, you were talking about multiple residential buildings as well as office buildings. A lot of people in their offices right now. So if you are watching this, if you happen to be in Midtown, police are saying to please stay away from any windows. There is active gunfire happening right now. Cody, we see the screen here. We see that there's still a lot of police tape. We have not heard any gunfire in the last couple of minutes, but as you know, it's been going on and off again. You said that the PIO was there with the bulletproof vest, because as we know, it's an active scene there. We've seen police with helmets as well to protect themselves. Cody, what is happening right now? Any other movement from what we can't see on camera behind you or around you?
So I can tell you right now, we look like we have an ambulance coming into the scene here off of Peachtree Street. You're going to see that on the camera in just a moment here. It's pulling in. This is an Atlanta fire rescue ambulance here. Of course, they do have their own fleet in the city now. And you can see these individuals actually being escorted out of the scene here for safety reasons. And I can tell you the PIOs are likely going to be giving us an update soon. That's what he is telling us right now. I can assure you though right now, Peachtree Street is open, but they are moving the scene back to Peachtree Street. So what we're going to have to do here in just a second is reset. We can actually keep the camera going. It's going to be very bumpy. So I don't know if they want to go back to the anchors for just a moment. You're going to see the movement, but we're going to have to move back to Peachtree Street because again, now we are within the zone where they do not want us in for, of course, safety reasons. So we're going to be moving back to Peachtree Street. Give us about 4 minutes and we'll be back with you here as, again, there is an active shooter situation happening on 14th Street at the Four Seasons Hotel here in Midtown.
Wow. Jesus.
All right, Cody Alcorn reporting live from us. If you're just joining us, you are looking at Midtown Atlanta, the Four Seasons Hotel. I believe Crash Clark is here to tell us a little bit about that backup that could happen. We noticed on a normal day, this is a backed up area, and now these streets are closed, Crash.
Yeah, you can imagine, Faith, as we're getting close to 4 o'clock here at 3:57, as Cody was saying, they're kind of moving that line back. What this is right here, what we're looking at is a live shot from one of the sky trackers in Midtown on West Peachtree at 14th. And And you can see APD right here. They're also getting ready to move now. I know Cody said that he saw one ambulance pulling up. I just saw another ambulance from Grady actually making a right-hand turn coming down West Peachtree. So a couple of EMS on the scene here as we see some activity from APD now. Where this camera is on West Peachtree at 14th, they don't seem to be too concerned with some of these pedestrians that are in this area. That is a little bit away from the scene. But again, let's go back to exactly where we're talking about. We're talking about the Four Seasons Hotel right off of 14th Street, 75 14th Street. It's almost on the corner of Crescent and 14th Street. But the roads that are impacted, I'm going to step in here because you can just kind of count them off. 12th Street, 13th, 14th, and 15th. And this is Peachtree right here. And this is where they're starting to back that scene up. They're pushing everybody away from that area. So we're going to start seeing a huge amount of traffic starting to flow right on Peachtree. Here's what I want you to do. If you need to head from the north to the south, you stay on Spring Street. You can see the connector already feeling some of this traffic, probably unloading into downtown. Your second alternate would have been Peachtree, but that's not the case at this point. As they move this scene back to Peachtree, let's consider even going further east and using Piedmont Avenue. You can see there on the right side of your screen where Piedmont Park is. That's going to be your best bet if you need to travel anywhere north or south through this area in Midtown. As we go ahead and take another live look as Cody gets repositioned back towards Peachtree Street. We know we're waiting for one of those PIO officers to conduct a little bit of a talk right now. But guys, I'm going to throw it back to you as we continue to look live here, West Peachtree at 14th Street.
And we are just about 10 seconds away from a reset at 4 o'clock. Stay with us. We will have continuing coverage.
11 Alive News at 4 p.m. starts now.
Wow. Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us here at 4 o'clock. We are coming on the air with breaking news at 4 o'clock, continuing coverage of a suspected gunman at the Four Seasons Hotel in Midtown Atlanta. Right now, that entire area is locked down. Police asking you to avoid the area.
We've been following this story for well over 30 minutes. We have heard the active gunfire round after round going off again. This is at 14th Street at the Four Seasons Hotel and condominiums. You were taking a live look at one of the GDOT Sky Tracker videos right here. You can see a large police presence there. In fact, much larger than this, as police have even pushed our crews back further away because of the continued gunfire. APD has said that anyone in that area should shelter in place and stay far away from any windows.
And Atlanta Police Department specifically saying to please avoid 12th Street, 13th Street, West Peachtree Street, Crescent Street, Peachtree Street and Peachtree Walk. The Four Seasons, not just a hotel, there's also residences above that. There are multiple hotels, multiple businesses in this area, as well as residences. And where you're looking at right now, this intersection, a very, very busy one at 5 o'clock as people get off of work, get off and try to head home. But once again, right now, that is shut down. For the last hour, we have heard on and off gunfire. Police asking if you are in this area right now, if you have friends or family in this area right now, if they are in one of those office buildings or if they are in one of those residences, please stay away from windows. This is still an active shooter situation. If you remember, this is also the same area where the Midtown shooter was. So police prepared.
It surprises me that there is only one gunman. The amount of bullets flying there, holy smokes, it did. It sounded like a war zone. Look at me being able to talk all free and stuff.
What are you seeing on the ground right now?
Well, I'm just going to stay off camera because, again, the most important thing is getting this information to you and letting folks see what is unfolding. You're looking right down at the Four Seasons Hotel. There are 2 SWAT vehicles. Beyond that, AP vehicle parked sideways right at Crescent Avenue there. This all started, as we have been talking about, from sources telling me as a barricaded individual possibly going through some type of mental health crisis. That's what initially we were told, and was armed with a...
Oh, what's going on there? See how that comes up. Join Patreon, guys.
A weapon. They have been down here for quite some time, but I'll tell you, I got down here shortly before 3 o'clock, and then that's when gunshots started ringing out from the building here. If you're not familiar with the Four Seasons Hotel, there is a residence side and there is a hotel side. We were originally told this was in the 30th floor and up, somewhere out there, maybe around 32, 33 is where this all began. And we have seen snipers enter buildings around this Four Seasons Hotel. And again, we have heard multiple shots being fired, rapid shots, which, sounded like the SWAT team responding to that shooter. We do not know what type of weapon this gunman has, but we have seen multiple SWAT teams arriving here on the scene. Crash mentioned this. We do have Grady EMS on scene. We have Atlanta Fire's EMS on scene as well. There is kind of a command staff set up across the street from the Four Seasons where they are actively helping the SWAT team inside this building.
Thank you, everybody.
We have not heard
Thank you
any
so much.
gunshots here in the last 5 minutes. But again, that does not mean this thing is resolved. It does not look like anything has been resolved at this point. In fact, they have moved us back. We were on the air just here before 4 o'clock. We had to move all the way back to Peachtree Street here at 14th. But again, Peachtree Street is open, but it's going to be backed up as 14th is closed. And they are asking the public to stay away from 14th and 13th because, again, active shots have been fired. And we obviously, as you know, do not know where these bullets are heading and if the shooter is just randomly shooting. At this point, we have no idea who the suspect is, if they lived at the Four Seasons, why they were at this hotel.
50 floors.
And again, we do not specifically know.
This building has 50 floors, you guys. Look at that. I couldn't even go in as a guest. It just wouldn't happen.
The original call, other than it was possibly some type of mental health crisis ongoing with an armed suspect inside. And we talked about this. This is not what APD wants to happen. They have negotiators. They have teams who are trained to deal with these mental health crises. We see this a lot just throughout the week. These standoffs with someone having a situation, they need help. They get them out safely and take them to the hospital and everybody goes home safe. But today, something triggered this individual to take it another step. And that is why you see such a massive presence down here, because again, shots have been fired. And I would say at this point, more than 40 shots have been fired since I've been on this scene, Ron.
Oh, yeah.
Cody. Yeah, Cody. So I'm here in the studio as well. I'm looking at the video that you're feeding back to us at 11 Alive. A couple of questions for you. First of all, I know APD is not handling this on their own. They probably called in mutual aid from other agencies around Metro Atlanta. Have you seen other agencies other than APD there right now?
So I'm not seeing any other agency as far as marked vehicles, but again, they could be on the other side of 14th that I am not on. From this vantage point, I've only seen APD SWAT, but I did see two snipers walking into a building across 14th from us. Oh. They just had on the green gear, so they could have been another agency. They did not have any markings on their protection gear. Right. So at this point, I don't know exactly who else would be here, but I would imagine any officer in the vicinity, when they heard those shots, this thing escalated to more than just a standoff.
And my last question for you before we go back to the anchors and back to you. You mentioned that there's two ambulances there right now. They're on the scene. Do they look like they're on standby? Are they treating anyone? What is their status from your vantage point?
Great question, Ron, because a lot of people might not realize this, but on every SWAT team, there is an EMT. That individual typically is not armed, but they train with SWAT to go in with these SWAT teams. In case a SWAT member goes down, there is an EMT with them to immediately help that SWAT officer and get them out so they have assistance, medical needs. So I would imagine the Atlanta Fire Rescue, that's kind of a new fleet for Atlanta Fire. They could be in with the SWAT team helping. Grady EMS on standby outside for the obvious suspect if they take that suspect down by gunfire. But I think that's what some people don't realize is on these SWAT teams, they each have their own job. And one of those individuals, again, typically not armed, is an active EMT member who goes in with these teams in case things go south, as we have seen here. Because, Ron, we talk about this a lot. There is no call that is ever typical. And this is a perfect example because these men and women train for these standoffs. They train for these mental health crises. But what we're seeing here is why you never call any type of response typical, because this thing escalated within just a few minutes here inside the Four Seasons Hotel, not somewhere you would expect to have a shootout with AP.
Yeah, exactly. This is the last spot you expect to have a shootout with the cops. Are you kidding me? 50 floors, you guys. Holy vertigo. Oh my word. Just unreal. And it, like I said earlier, it doesn't sound like just one, but what the hell do I know? So they've got the snipers on the opposite building now. So if they know what floor this guy's on, they'll pick him off pretty quick.
We should be able to hear any if they do, but what that could mean is one of two things. Possibly the suspect is down, or SWAT retreated to bring in another team, or maybe they're trying to set up a sniper, which we saw come in. Again, they want to resolve this without anybody's life being taken, but obviously things have escalated. Ron, you asked if there's anybody else on scene as far as agencies. I can tell you I see a MARTA police vehicle has just pulled up on Crescent Avenue here right outside the building. So that does confirm there are other agencies here, including MARTA Police, and I'm sure Fulton County Sheriff has his folks here as well. And you cannot see this because I'm off kind of towards the 1180 Peachtree Street building, but I can see more SWAT team members suiting up. And again, this is a unique situation, one they train for, but we're not in a house. We're not in an apartment complex, 2 or 3 floors, or even a regular high rise of maybe just 15, 20. This is the Four Seasons Hotel. This is a very tall building. And again, you have residents that are living there on one side. You have hotel on the other. It's a popular spot. So yes, Ron, I'm sure they had to not only evacuate this place, but make sure no one was in their home. And then they made that decision to return fire. So again, at this point, I want to clarify, we have heard of no civilian injuries. So that is what we're hearing right now. There's been no indication there's a hostage situation, but those details have not been confirmed. We are expecting the public information officer to walk over to us soon. But at this point, Atlanta police have not spoken to us. And sometimes we try to get them over here fast, but you got to remember on situations like this, the public safety is number one, and their number one priority right now is getting the suspect out alive and making sure everyone is safe in this hotel and surrounding buildings. So we expect the PIO, the public information officer for Atlanta Police, to walk over to us, but it's going to be at some point that they have more information than we have at this point. So what that reads to me is that this is still very active, and this is still an ongoing threat to the immediate area here that is shut down from Peachtree Street on 13th and 14th.
All right, thanks a lot. We stay safe there, Cody, you and your team as well. Thank you.
All right, Cody, thank you so much. We do have a little bit more information on the Four Seasons Hotel that I was able to pull up here, according to allatlantacondos.com. This is a 53-story building in Atlanta, built in 1992. The condominiums, like I said, hotel and residences start on the 31st floor above the Four Seasons Hotel. According to the Four Seasons Hotel, they have 244 hotel rooms. So once again, 53 stories of potential hotel and residential space that police could be combing through there at this time.
All right, right now we want to go live to the newsroom and I check in with our Caitlin Ross. We know a lot of people heard this guy.
Unreal. This started as right away. As soon as the stream started, you were hearing that gunfire, but we're not hearing it so much anymore. I don't know if this guy's going to be someone who lives there. I don't know. We know nothing. We don't know if it's a guy or a girl. We don't know if it's 1 or 2 people. They are just saying the shooter. But like I said, that gunfire exchange, it surprised me. Let's see what she has to say here.
To the building security saying, hey, something's really wrong here. Someone is really suffering some sort of incident and we need to get on top of this immediately. She says that the building security initially was trying to take care of it. The alleged suspect kept getting more and more agitated. She took some videos of what was going on, and then she started seeing police roll up. So she's sheltered inside of her office suite. She is safe. She's able to tell us what's going on inside right now. But when I talked to her, she said she was shaking. It's really scary. She said people inside are alarmed.
No.
They're trying to figure out what's going on. Take a listen to what she told me is happening inside right now.
And then I went out on my balcony, and I see him, and he's wearing a gas mask and holding the flags.
Oh.
Well, first around 1:30, I think we started hearing it. And then about 20 minutes later, we hear the guy still getting more agitated and screaming. Then we started hearing shots. And then we heard, like, normally I was thinking law enforcement shooting. And then we saw SWAT vehicles. And we just heard errant shots since. So I don't know what the hell's going on now. That was another shot just now.
Just now?
Yeah.
So that just gives you an idea of how many shots are being fired inside the Four Seasons right now. Just while we were on the phone, you could hear those shots being fired. She says everybody in her surrounding area is locked down inside those suites. Again, they are safe. She's communicating this information safely. But she said it's really scary. She's grateful that law enforcement is.
So what does that mean? Is the guy in there walking around now, going into suites and people's homes? Unreal. Hey, Perry, good to see you. Good to see you, friend.
On scene, they're hopeful that it's going to be handled, but Faith and Jonathan, very scary situation for people who are locked inside their offices, hotel rooms, or suites right now.
Yeah, you think about this has been happening, as she said, since 1:30. So this has been going on for a while. Frightening there, but just glad that she's okay. Thank you, Caitlin.
Yeah, and just one thing, just to remind everyone, if you are in this area, if you're watching us on air in that Midtown area, or you have family or friends that live in that area, police are asking you to stay away from any windows. We know that there's a lot of high rises in that area. This is still an active shooter situation. And as that chilling details of that from that witness said, just multiple rounds of rapid gunfire. We even hearing it on the air around 3 o'clock with Cody Alcorn. And speaking of him, we want to check in with him right now. He's down on the ground live for us. Cody, any more gunfire in the last 10, 15 minutes? And what is happening right now by you?
It's been quiet.
Gunfire where I'm at right now, but again, we're back towards Peachtree Street with traffic.
And 1 second, I believe we're having a little bit of audio issues with Cody right now. He is on the ground, and we are going to get that audio fixed. But if you are just joining us right now, we are looking at an active shooter situation, which started off as a suspected gunman barricading himself in the Four Seasons Hotel in Midtown Atlanta, has turned into multiple rounds of on and off rapid gunfire. Right now, we're trying to figure out where that gunfire is coming from, whether that's from the suspect or from police as well. But Cody Alcorn is live for us gathering that information. And we do know, I know he said around 3:47, a public information officer, that is kind of our media liaison between Atlanta police and the media, was on scene putting on a bulletproof vest, trying to gather information. And Jonathan, I believe that we have Cody back now.
All right. So Cody, we know you're right there, close enough to the area, but also in a safe space. Have you heard any more gunfire in the last 10 or 15 minutes?
I have not, but I can tell you right now, APD is asking folks to avoid 12th Street, 13th Street, West Peachtree Street, Crescent Street, Peachtree Street, and Peachtree Walk. They are asking everybody in those areas to shelter in place. I'm going to say them again. Those are 12th Street, 13th Street, West Peachtree Street, Crescent Street, Peachtree Street, and Peachtree Walk. Now, I just got a picture on my X, formerly Twitter, of the shooter in a balcony. And you can see this individual's face covered, and you can see actual shooting happening from this balcony. So it does give us a sense of the situation unfolding, is that not only does this shooter have a view, he has a balcony. He is actively shooting at law enforcement. So that makes sense to why we saw a sniper go into a counter building where they are set up, exchanging fire 30 floors in the air. This is a very unique situation. And you can hear, watch, we're going to turn the camera around if we can. We're going to spin the camera around. You can see MARTA police showing up in numbers here. You asked a while ago, Ron, if they're getting any support, and you can see MARTA police rolling in with their K9 unit and also some of their officers. So this is another example that this situation is still very fluid and very active, as you have MARTA police rolling in from Peachtree Street to assist APD here. I know some people are asking, have you talked to police? Have they given you an update? They have not. Right now, their priority is to get this gunman under control and to stop firing his weapon. We do not know how many weapons he has in this unit. We don't know how much ammo he has. And again, we don't know the state of mind, but also, obviously he is not in a good state of mind if he is actively shooting. Again, if you are in this area, you are being asked to stay in place. Peachtree Street is open, but what they're asking is do not come down here and people watch. This is one of those situations, it's not safe. You can see the camera right now. This is the sheriff's department. So now we have Fulton County Sheriff here getting his long gun out. He is now going to be assisting as well. So this is what we are seeing is more other agencies starting to show up to assist APD. Of course, it appears their SWAT team is the lead here, and they have actually been engaging with this suspect. But I can confirm from my own eyes, I did see 2 snipers entering the building across from us, going up to a similar floor, likely to engage with this suspect. But the Four Seasons Hotel, those balconies are thick, so he could hide behind that wall and protect him from the bullets coming from those snipers. So we'll see what unfolds here, but I think it's past the point of this man giving up nicely or safely or coming out on his own. It's going to likely be a forced situation, which is not what APD wants here, but right now, I can tell you, Faith and Jonathan, this is a very active scene. It kind of reminds you, I mentioned this when we were on the air before the 4 o'clock, kind of the situation unfolding during the Midtown shooter. But this contained, that's the difference. So while there is a lot of people probably worried, this is contained to the Four Seasons building, but it involves several buildings around, because if this guy just starts randomly shooting, he could hit some offices and even some residents around the area. But at this point, we have not heard of any civilian injuries, and it's not believed at this point he has any hostages. But again, those details we're still working to confirm with Atlanta police.
And Cody, as you mentioned, we have not heard any gunfire in the last. With people who may just be joining us, we have heard several rounds of gunfire within the last hour or so. Yeah. Cody described it as perhaps 40 different rounds.
Multiple rounds on and off, rapid gunfire. I'm getting a text from someone who works in that area a block away saying that she heard shots earlier and she was in a completely separate building at work. Their floor heard these gunshots. The police commissioner telling them that he is barricaded and to stay out of the street. We do have some video of the gunfire that we captured on camera. Please keep in mind that we know that this can be triggering for some folks, but we do want to give those who are interested in seeing what happened earlier there. So we will play that for you. Keep in mind, this is rapid gunfire that we heard earlier today, right between the 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock hour. If we have that video, we'll play it now.
Yeah. I'll share this phone with you for a second.
And you can hear and even see how frightening that was, even for some of the officers on scene, which is one of the big reasons that they extended the perimeter and had not just the officers, but even the media go back.
That this shooter could be in a balcony at that Four Seasons property.
And I can tell you, you heard those gunshots on your TVs or on your computer. It literally sounded like it was over our head. I've been on a lot of breaking news, but I can tell you that's the closest I have been to a shootout like that, even though it was 30 floors above me. It was enough for me to actually hit the ground as well. When I first got here, I was actually on 14th Street right at Crescent, and an APD officer said, "Hey, there's about to be some gunfire, get over to the garage." So we got behind the concrete wall. That's when we started hearing the multiple shots. Then I kind of moved to back behind one of these concrete pillars. It's right behind Poor Tap Room on 14th Street, if you're familiar. And literally those gunshots felt like they were over our head. And that appears to be because that was coming from return fire from snipers or SWAT that were over us. We did not know at that time, because again, this has been unfolding since earlier this afternoon. Started as a barricaded situation and quickly escalated. And you mentioned about the shooter on the balcony. Again, these are unconfirmed reports because we have not gotten APD to confirm, but the pictures do match. It matches what Caitlin mentioned, talking to the witness in the building, and it does match that this shooter has been on the balcony at some point firing shots. But there could be a couple scenarios happening right now that the suspect ran out of ammo. he is holed up now that he knows there is snipers directly across from him, or he has been hit. So there's a lot of scenarios here, but I can tell you it does not look like this thing is resolved at this point, with the amount of police still arriving, with the activity you cannot see, because I can look down 14th Street's sidewalk here across from the Four Seasons, and I would say there's 36 law enforcement officers, likely the command staff. They have a hatch of a Suburban popped up, and what they do is, if you've ever seen this, you've likely not, but what they do is they have computers set up. It's intelligence. They can actively talk to SWAT in the building. They can talk to their command staff back at the building. They can talk with dispatchers as well. So this is a very fluid situation. And again, it's unique. I say that because we do have a lot of high rises here, but I can tell you in my 2 years, I have not seen this situation unfold 30 floors up in a mixed use building, which would be, you have restaurants, you have a residence, and you have a hotel in the Four Seasons. And initially we heard this was on the 32nd or 33rd floor on the residence side. So it leads you to ask, did this person live there? How did they gain access? And what transpired this morning on a Tuesday morning to lead to this, where we are now hours later with a shootout between APD and this suspect 30 floors up in the Four Seasons Hotel.
And we are continuing to see a heavy police presence in some of the shots that we see here. Cody has talked about some of the SWAT teams, snipers in the area. We have certainly seen that. Again, even though we have not heard any gunfire recently, officers are still saying shelter in place, not just for people who are in the hotel, but also in the nearby area.
And we know that the area is surrounded by office buildings as well as multiple residences. Teresa Bowles is joining us at 14th and West Peachtree. We know that there is a big apartment complex, as well as several coffee shops and different restaurants around there. Teresa, it looks like those roads are blocked off. Are you seeing any pedestrian traffic, and what are you hearing on your end on that side?
Right, I just got here minutes ago, and as I was walking up to where I am now, all I kept seeing are pedestrians standing along the sidewalk, wondering what the heck is going on. People are standing around making phone calls. They've got purses and bags in their hands. People that can't get to work, people that can't get inside of the hotel, people that can't get inside of the surrounding buildings of the hotel. I'm seeing different workers that are standing outside of the buildings next to this hotel, and dozens of police units that are here protecting this area, as well as the SWAT team that I keep seeing walking up and down the street. There are ambulances on standby in case they need to help, and it just seems like everybody is just prepared for what may or may not happen here, while the pedestrians around here are just wondering what to do at this point and when they're going to be allowed to get back to their normal lives. Let me show you what I can see from my vantage point. Over here behind the police tape, I'm seeing a Georgia Tech police car, and far down the street there are different police units lined up, parallel parked along the street with their lights going. All around this area, there's at least an official or some sort of police officer standing in front of many of these buildings, workers standing in front of the buildings, communicating with officers, trying to get answers. We're all waiting for answers at this point, as we have little information about what's actually going on this street, but everyone's been asked to shelter in place. Even as I was walking up here, a police officer walked up to me to let me know to be safe while I'm out here. So a lot of these people are getting pushed a little bit further back as they stand outside waiting for directions and what's next. So I guess at this point, we'll just have to continue to ask questions of police to try to get to the bottom of what is going on and when it's going to be safe for people to get back inside of these buildings. But it seems as though it's going to be a while before we get those answers, as I have seen no progression and no changes from the scene. Everyone's just kind of sitting here waiting for instructions.
That's right, Teresa Bowles. Thank you so much, as we all are. We do know that a public information officer has arrived on the scene, but obviously the priority for officers is to de-escalate the situation. And then, of course, they will let us know what's happening. But again, the latest news is that everyone is still being asked to shelter in place.
Avoid windows, shelter in place if you have friends or family in that area. Where Teresa was standing, West Peachtree Street, a very big road for a lot of people in that area who are in their office buildings getting off of work might try to get down that way. An Einstein Brothers bakery, Regent's Plaza, the Hugh Midtown, a big residential building there. And she was standing in front of the AC Hotel, another big hotel, multi-space with hotel rooms, offices, different things like that. We want to talk about the commute here because we know that this part of Midtown is a very, very busy time, especially at 4:30, people starting to get off of work. We want to head over to 11 Alive's Clark Crash. We're talking about kind of like a square of roads that are closed here. What is the way to get around that?
Yeah, Faith and Jonathan, got to think of it like a grid, actually, where that Four Seasons Hotel is right there off of 14th and Crescent Street. One of my cameras right here, somebody has spun it around, but West Peachtree and 14th, you could see pedestrians and cars, vehicle traffic still being allowed to utilize that part. Now, they are further west away from this scene, but as you can imagine, depending on how long this takes, we could see people that are having to shelter in place in their offices. Maybe it wraps up in half hour, 1 hour, 2 hours. When that happens and they are allowed to hit these streets, we're going to see a major flow of traffic in Midtown. But this is our location, the Four Seasons Hotel in Atlanta. Multiple gunshots have been ringing out throughout the Midtown area. And as you can imagine, what they have done is they have just cordoned off this entire area. I'm going to step back in, as Cody was telling us earlier, 12th Street, 13th, 14th, 15th. Think of it just like as a big grid and a square. This is Peachtree, this is Spring Street, or this is Spring Street, this is West Peachtree. And right now, all of those roads, a lot of folks that are just in their car that may not be getting this information are trying to scurry for alternates. West Peachtree, kind of an alternate, but as you know, West Peachtree goes from south to north, Spring Street, the opposite direction. But I am seeing major delays on both Spring and West Peachtree, and even Peachtree. That's where Cody was moved back from the scene, just given a little bit more of a wider berth there for safety reasons. So if you need to travel through Midtown, obviously, if you live in that general area, they want to shelter in place. They don't even want you going there. But Piedmont Avenue, that's going to be your best bet for an alternate through Midtown heading north and south. You see Piedmont Park there just off to the right of your screen. Let's get one more look here. Yeah, unfortunately, they've turned my camera away, but we do have a lot of crews out there, West Peachtree and 14th. Jonathan, Faith, I'm going to throw it back to you guys.
All right, Crash Clark, thank you so much. Right now, we want to get back out live to our Cody Alcorn, who has been there on the scene for a while for us. Cody, I understand you have some new information.
So the new information I have is actually pictures, Jonathan and Faith, I'm getting from someone in the building I was actually taking cover in. And in these pictures, you can see this man with a gas mask on. You heard Caitlin mention this. He's also at least thrown over one chair from this unit. So we have gotten our first glimpse at this person, again, wearing some type of mask, looks like a gas mask. And he's thrown over at least one bench that I can actually see being tossed over the balcony, kind of a bar chair. And then he has something else in his hand in another picture with his hands up. So again, we cannot confirm, but obviously there's only one person on a balcony right now acting like this, and those pictures are starting to come in to us of this suspect. These were taken earlier, so unclear though if this suspect is still alive, if this suspect is in custody, but at this point it does not appear that this thing has been resolved. We have not heard any gunfire in the last half hour. So that gives you some promise that maybe they are getting this resolved. But at this point, there has been no all clear given. They're still asking folks to shelter in place all around this area. And that area where I said the command staff was coming around, they are still all there conversing among themselves, and I have not seen the snipers come out of the building from across the Four Seasons. So again, we're starting to get a better idea of this suspect. Obviously, if he had a gas mask, it makes you wonder, was this a plan all along? Why does this person have an arsenal in this building with a gas mask? Who knows? But again, now we have even more questions to get answers from when we do expect a news conference to happen here in the next short while. But as of right now, APD has not given us any new information at this point, but I can tell you I can see their public information officer starting to set up for a news conference. Likely they wanted to make sure all of their information is correct and up to date before they address us, but right now their main concern is keeping this area clear and getting this thing resolved without any innocent people being hurt.
Cody Alcorn live for us. Thank you so much for giving us an account from on the ground. As you heard Cody just say, any moment now we could be hearing from the public information officer that got on scene just after 3:45 this afternoon. According to a witness that spoke with our Caitlin Ross, they started hearing gunfire around 1:30, and then 20 minutes later, they started hearing, they started hearing a commotion around 1:30. 20 minutes later, started hearing who they believe was the suspects getting more agitated. And then they started hearing that gunfire. Right now, this area is locked down. The Four Seasons and Midtown 14th and West Peachtree Street and that entire block. If you have friends and family in that area, please tell them to stay inside and avoid any windows. And Jonathan, as Cody was saying, when he came on the air around 3 o'clock, on and off, multiple rounds of rapid gunfire there.
Absolutely. And they have not given the all clear, even though we have not heard gunfire. I want to bring in 11 Alive anchor Ron Jones. You, of course, have an incredible law enforcement background. And when things like this happen, we don't necessarily get the all clear right away because there's still a lot of work and investigating they have to do to figure out exactly what's going on here.
Yeah, they gotta work on the process right now. And we talked about this earlier in the broadcast. They're going from floor to floor, room to room to see if there's any other victims out there, see if there's any suspects as well. But here's something you got to consider. They got to give an accountability for every single round that was fired. So we heard 30, 40 rounds shot during that time. Those bullets went somewhere. They went across the street, possibly into another building. And so they have to check to make sure that there are no victims there. And one thing that Cody pointed out earlier in the broadcast, and that is these officers train for this. And they train for this based upon maybe what has happened around the country in similar situations. Back in 2016, consider this. In Dallas, Texas, a similar situation, 5 police officers were killed, 9 injured by a suspected shooter as well, by a shooter as well. And so they gather all that information from around the country. They talk about process. They talk about how do we keep our officers safe. In this situation, it appears that there are no officers that were injured, even though you see Grady hospital ambulances showing up on the scene. And Cody pointed this out, that now when they go through and they try to clear the building, that's what law enforcement calls it, when they clear the building, some of these EMS personnel, some of these firefighters go along with the officers just in case they get hit with gunfire, the officers, and they can get them out of there quickly and get them the assistance that they need. But once again, guys, they have to give account for all of those rounds that were fired. So this may not be cleared in the next hour or two. It may be hours before all of this is done.
Yeah, and you can understand why a lot to get to, a lot of gunfire we have heard this afternoon. 11 Alive anchor Ron Jones, thank you so much. Again, in case you are just getting home, it is 4:30. We know a lot of you may just be turning on your TVs or your laptops and really figuring out what is going on. We have been following this for the last couple hours, but I know, Faith, some witnesses say this gunfire they heard as early as 1:30 this afternoon right here in this area at the Four Seasons Hotel, which, of course, is not just a hotel.
This was just going wild for the longest time. It was just a couple minutes and more. So I'm really curious where this guy could be. Is he actually still walking around that building, or did they get him? I hope he's not just walking. Oh, what are they doing here? Let's see. What are they doing there?
We know that the PIO got on scene, that public information officer from Atlanta Police got on scene around 3:45, assessing the situation, putting on a bulletproof vest, because as we said, this is an active shooter situation. You can see ambulances right here, just EMT, making sure that if there needs to be some care taken care of, it looks like they're actually pulling out a gurney right now. So we might get an update on as to why they're doing that. But we're talking about the Four Seasons. Like you said, Jonathan, this is a multi-use building, 244 hotel rooms, according to the site, 53 stories up. After the 31st floor of hotel rooms, that's when you start to see those residential, those condos as well. So you have a lot of different stories that the police are going to have to go through. What you're seeing right now, a lot of movement on the ground from our Cody Alcorn and his crew. They are actively getting more information on if they need to come in or come out. That's why that camera was shaking there. They are making sure that they are moving and protecting themselves, as well as staying within the bounds of police. And
kind of looked like they were going to try and get that interview as well. It'd be nice to get an update and know what's actually going on. If you guys know anyone in Atlanta, pass this out. Share it. Share it.
For several hours now as they await updates. I'm sure a lot of them are watching us here. And as soon as we get new information from Atlanta police, we'll pass that along to you. But again, the latest that they have given us is that everyone is expected to shelter in place, not just there in the Four Seasons, but again, in some of these nearby buildings, because we have seen and have heard that gunmen fire shots from what appears to be a balcony area high up on that building. So again, we are waiting an update.
Oh, and we do have one update from police right now. As of 4:35 p.m., the shelter in place has been lifted.
Okay.
Once again, update at 4:35 p.m. The shelter in place has been lifted. We ask that citizens still avoid this area. Streets will continue to be closed in the area for a period of time as the investigation continues. The suspect has been apprehended and is now in custody. That is coming out 4:35 p.m. from Atlanta police. If we can get that news out to our crews on the ground. Once again, shelter in place lifted. The suspect has been apprehended and is now in custody.
And that is some good news, a great update. We still have a lot of questions, but of course, it's good to know that that person is no longer putting others in danger.
And as we get that new information, Cody, if you can hear us, the suspect has been apprehended and is in custody. What are you hearing on the ground from you?
Yes. So that matches what a witness just told me. It's the same witness who's been sharing pictures of this alleged gunman from the balcony, throwing a chair off the balcony, holding flags, wearing a mask as well. I asked if this witness actually saw the takedown. This person works on the 25th floor of a nearby building and watched all of this unfold as they sheltered in place. But again, that person texted me at 4:29 saying they just took the shooter into custody, which matches. Now APD confirmed. And what we are working on now is if there are anybody else involved in this. Of course, initially we heard this was a barricaded situation. We heard that this was a mental health crisis. We did not hear anything about a hostage situation or civilians being injured. But again, those details could come out at this news conference as we are working to confirm.
So this is what they're talking about. We'll go over here for a second. Is this him? Oh, Lordy, what did I do? Let me do this.
Christina, do you see him throwing stuff over the balcony?
He's got a
Watch this.
He does have a
What? Unreal.
Maybe that's their help.
Maybe they're trying to signal the police that they're up there.
Throwing furniture. What is this?
Christina, you see him?
Look at that. What's...
Christina, do you see him throwing stuff over the balcony?
He's got a mask on.
He does have a mask on.
Unreal.
Maybe
some very early on information regarding this situation. So
there you are.
What we can tell you right now is you just confirmed the suspect is in custody, but this is a very large crime scene because there were tons of shots fired. They're going to have to find these shell casings. They're going to have to figure out where any other buildings hit. They're going to have to start working backwards on what led this man to the Four Seasons inside this unit to carry out what has happened here. And of course, if there were any other crimes committed today involving this suspect, that will also be part of this investigation. So while the immediate threat is over and that things might be getting back to a little bit of normalcy around here as traffic, there is a lot of investigating to do. And I can tell you right now.
So do you guys think there's somebody else? I don't think so. If they have allowed everybody else to go back in, I think they got him. Mental health crisis to holy oh frick. Oh, holy oh fuck. Sorry, guys. I don't have to do that anymore. I'll take it while I can, right? So come on over and join us on Patreon, you guys. It's a great platform. I'm going to be doing a lot more work on there than I have previously. let me see here. I want to do this. There we are. So yeah, come on over and join us on Patreon. There's going to be lives, lots of really good chat, pictures that you've never seen. I'm putting it all over there at this point. I had a little bit of a falling out, I guess, unbeknownst to me while I was gone. YouTube decided to demonetize me. I was at the hospital with my dad for 7 weeks, and I came back to that. So I'll still be streaming here, but I'd love for you to be joining us over on Patreon. So guys, with that said, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys joining me. I've missed you guys, and it's nice to be back at it. So much love, and let's see. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.